Alrighty, welcome to Module 5, Lesson 26. And in this lesson, we are going back to comparing fractions again. This time we're going to compare fractions greater than 1, and we're going to use reasoning using benchmark fractions. Alright, so once again, we're going to compare fractions greater than 1, which is what we used to call improper fractions, and we're going to use benchmark fractions. All right, let's get started. Okay, so let's say we wanted to compare three fractions. All of these fractions, well, the two fractions are greater than 1, and then we have a mixed number, which is greater than 1 whole. We have 13/4, 9/2, and 3 6/8. So we could plot those on a number line. And you might say, well, what are we going to do with this 13/4? Well, maybe we should think about that 13/4, and we can change that 13/4 into, well, let's see, we have 13/4, and change that into, let's see, 12/4 and 1/4. So the 12/4 is going to be 3. So we have 3 and 1/4. So this is 3 plus 1/4. So 13/4 is 3 1/4. And what about 9/2? Well, let's work over here on the other side. 9/2. Well, 9/2. Well, I can go 4. Well, it's 4 times 2 would be 8. So I'd have 8/2, and then I'd have 1/2 left over. So this one's going to be 4 1/2. And if you forgot how to convert these, go back to the previous lessons and review them. So we went through that process. So now let's see, on our number line, we don't have to start at 0 all the time. Let's start at 3 because 3 is our lowest. We have 3 1/4, and then we have 3 6/8, and then we have 4 and something. Okay, so this is where here is 3 1/4. Okay, so we have 3. Let's go 4. Let's go to 5. 3, 4, and 5. Now, if we want to plot 13/4, we just look at 3, and we don't have to actually, we could make the marks, but we don't necessarily have to, but let's just see what that would look like. Okay, so this would be our 4th marks. Okay, so we could look at this and say 13/4 is 3 1/4, so there would be 3 1/4. But now we're going to label it with the same way that it's labeled here. So we're going to go ahead and label this and put this on our number line as 13/4. Okay. And then, well, what about 6/8? Well, let's look at, well, what would 8s be? Well, we can see what 8s would look like. Would that be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8? So 6/8 would be actually the same thing as 3/4. Well, we can see that because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be right here. Okay, so that'd be 6/8. And we'll keep that in the form that they used. They used a mixed number, so we'll write it on the number line in a mixed number as 3 6/8. And now the last number we're comparing is the 9/2, which we saw was 4 1/2. So once again, we can look at our number line, and we can go ahead and pop the 4 1/2 right here, which they have as an improper fraction or a fraction greater than 1, and they have it as 9/2. So now you can order these fractions and you can make a lot of statements about in comparing them. We can compare, if we were to compare, let's say we wanted to compare 9/2, we could compare 9/2. We could compare that with 13/4. And we would find that it is greater than 13/4. Okay, so we could also compare then, we have, where does the 3 6/8 fit into this equation? Well, I could compare the 3 6/8. Let's say, what if I wanted to compare the 3 6/8, and I wanted to compare that to 13/4? Well, which one's bigger, 3 6/8, which is here, or 13/4, which is here? Well, 3 6/8 is bigger. So 3 6/8 is bigger than 13/4. And you can compare them in different ways, and you can order them from least to greatest. If we were to order these least to greatest, we would, well, what's the smallest one here? The smallest one here would be 13/4, and then the next one would be 3 6/8, and then the largest one would be 9/2. So you can do all sorts of things. Once you have them on the number line, you can compare them all kinds of different ways. All right, let's try another one. I'm going to give you 3 more and let you kind of figure it out. So let's say I was giving you three fractions here. Well, we have a mixed number and 2 fractions here, 2 fractions greater than 1. And we want to order these on a number line. Well, how are you going to do that? We'll pause the video and see. The first question is, you'd ask yourself is, well, how do I number this? So again, you're going to need to know your multiplication, because you're going to need to change the 58/8 and the 34ths into mixed numbers before you get started. Pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Okay, have you figured out how to number? Now I did the work for you here. We have now our mixed numbers are 7 2/8, 7 5/8, and 7 2/9. So wait a minute, we only have to organize this thing between 7 and 8. That gives us a big lot of leeway here. 7 and 8. Then we just have to pop them on there. So let's see, 7 2/8. Well, let's go ahead, and that would be a half. Those would be fourths. Those in half again. Those would be eighths. So 7 2/8. Our first one would go right here. That's our 7 2/8. But remember, let's put it in the form it was, 58/8. So 58/8 would go here. Let's look at 7 5/8. So there's 7 and 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. So 7 5/8 would go here. And what about our last one here? 7 2/4. 7 2/4. Well, let's see. Well, fourths would be, well, there would be a half. So let's just rename these as fourths. Okay. And there's a fourth. And there's a 7. Okay, 1 2 1. Oh wait, 1 2 1 2. That's a half. Okay, so 7 2/4. Okay, so 1/4, 2/4. So 7 2/4. The same thing as 7 1/2. 7 2/4 is the same thing as 7 1/2. All right. So we'll go ahead and put that here. 1/4, 2/4. So our 34ths would go here. And now again, we can compare these any way we want. If we want to compare 58/8 with 34ths, well, which one's bigger? 58/8, which is 7 2/8. Our 58/8, is that bigger? No. Our 34ths is bigger, so it would go like this. 34ths. Okay. 34ths is bigger. And you can do this, well, what about our 7 5/8? And let's say our 34ths. Well, once again, which is bigger? 7, well, this one looks like it's a bigger one. So we'll go this way. And again, you could order them. So there you go. Well, let's go on to the next part of our lesson. All right, for this next part, we have 2 fractions greater than 1, or improper fractions, and we want to decide to compare them, which one is larger than the other one. So, well, first thing I suggest we need to do is we need to convert those into our mixed numbers. So our 20, let's see, so let's come over here and look. We've got 29 sevenths, so that's going to equal, well, 7 times 4 is 28, so we can have 28 sevenths plus 1/7. And let's see, so that'd be 7, so that would be equal to 4 and 1/7. Okay, so that one's 4 and 1/7. Okay, and then let's see, how about 31 eighths? Well, 31 eighths, 8 times 4 is 32, 8 times 3 is 24, 24 eighths, but then I'm going to have 7 eighths left over, so now I have 3 and 7 eighths. Well, now that's pretty easy to figure out now. Okay, so we know that 4 is going to be bigger than 3 always, so it's going to go this way. And that one's kind of simple, but sometimes they're a little bit closer. Okay, so if we did something like, well, let's see, try to get something a little bit closer than that. Well, what if we had, let's change it up here. Let's look at two mixed numbers. Let's say we have 5 and 7 eighths, and we have 5 and 9 tenths. Well, which one's bigger? Well, we could use our benchmark fraction. Oops, 5 and 9 tenths. We can use our benchmarks to tell us that, wait a minute, they're both one piece away from being 6, but if we look at those, we know that it has to be the 9 tenths, and how would we know that? Well, they're both one away from a whole number, from 6, but we know that tenths are smaller than 8, so it's going to be closer. So we could just say that 5 and 9 tenths is closer to 6 wholes. So therefore, it is bigger. Okay, so there again, we're going back to using the benchmark fractions. So I hope this helps, and onward and upward. Get to the problem set. Woohoo! Problem set, yay! Psst, video's over. Start your problem set.